the most underestimated free speed you can possibly have. Now, there is two reasons that you hit the wall in a race, whether that's a 10K, half marathon or marathon, but usually this applies to the longer distances, ultra marathon as well. You're either underprepared, so you haven't done the long run, and it's mainly the long run. If you're kind of taking speed away from it and you cannot do the distance, it's because you haven't let your body sort of gradually get used to running further and further. The second is being underfueled, so not giving your body enough carbohydrates, enough of the right sugars to fuel your muscles, to fuel your body in order to get there. And that's the biggest, by far, reason for hitting the wall. And that's the reason why people, I don't know what happened. All of a sudden I hit 20 miles, and it's always a round number. I hit 20 miles, and all of a sudden I'm struggling for the last 6 miles. I don't know what to do. In kilometers, it's always the 30K or the 35K mark, and they're struggling for the final. Nutrition is the reason that you're hitting that wall. If you're prepared, and most of us, if we're committed to the marathon, most of us are prepared. We're prepared to do the distance. We know, we understand because we're around other runners. We're searching on the internet. We've become obsessed with running. We know what we need to do training-wise. Nutrition is lacking. And the reason nutrition is lacking is because sometimes we leave it too late, so we leave it until race day, and we put something in our body, maybe a gel or a sports drink. We're not used to having it, and it doesn't work well. And so it's sloshing around in the stomach. A lot of us have felt this way. It's not getting to the muscles, and therefore we hit the wall, and we probably have some stomach problems. It happens, we've all heard the story, and it's probably happened to us as well. What we need to do is understand how much carbohydrate we can take per hour. It's as simple as that. How much carbohydrate can I put into my body so that it can take it in? It's not sloshing around in my stomach and just staying there as extra weight for no reason. I'm metabolizing it properly so it's bioavailable to the muscles. I'm getting it to the muscles so they can use it as energy so I can propel myself forward. More than any super shoe in the world, this is free speed. It's you not hitting the wall and pushing for the last 10K or the last 6 miles, where usually you'd be just trying to survive and hoping that the world is gonna like crack and is gonna swallow you up because you're suffering so much. Again, we've all been there. And the key to it, the secret to kind of navigate this is getting your nutrition right. So how do you get it right? Now, this is what I use. Either one of these, which is the Morton 320 mix. It's not a commercial. This is what I use. There's 80 grams of carbohydrate in there. It's a sports drink. It mixes into 500 mils of water. I drink one of those every hour. So within a marathon, 2 hours and 21 minutes, then I'll be drinking 2 of these plus another third of a bottle. And it will be that strict. And I'll know that, and yeah, I've got the kind of the tables available most of the time. Every 5K, I'll know exactly what the time should be, how quickly I should be getting there, and how much I need to drink. So either in the bottle, there'll be exactly the right amount in the bottle, so that I have to drink all of this because this is exactly the amount of carbohydrate that I need to drink in this 15 minutes or 20 minutes. And I'm not going to see the next drinks table, my next bottle, until this point. And you've got to get used to picking up those drinks bottles. If you're lucky enough, and if you're doing a time trial and somebody's on the bike, you've got to get used to taking that bottle, drinking on the go. It's a little bit more difficult as you get towards the end of the race, as you start to get a little bit mentally fatigued to sort of grab that. And there's times definitely in ultra runs where I've missed it by miles, but I haven't really realized. But this is the difference. And what I was used to do before maybe 2017, I would just read the back of a gel. And I used to use goo gels, and it would say every 40 minutes, take one of me. And on the back of the gel, it'd say potassium, magnesium, sodium, all great for the muscles, 25 grams of carbohydrates. So if I'm taking one of those every 40 minutes, that's 37.5 grams of carbohydrate per hour, 75 grams every 2 hours, and a little bit more if I'm doing 221 for the marathon. So what does that mean? It means that I'm doing the same as everybody else. But is it optimal? No, it's just what it says on the back of the packet. And what the back of the packet is telling you is the recommended daily intake. The recommended daily intake is not the recommended daily intake of your marathon day. That's just a regular day if you're doing exercise and you want to sort of not hit the wall in a training session if you're training for 5 hours in the gym. It's not, you're not asking the gel. I'm trying to run as fast as I possibly can that I've trained for over the last 3, 4, 5 months in order to go as fast as I possibly can for the marathon, and how do I optimally do that? So luckily, we've got companies like Morton. Again, it's not a commercial, but we've got companies like Morton that have not just said, okay, we want 50 regular people and another 50 regular people. These people are going to run for an hour. These people are going to run for an hour. But these people are going to have 80 grams of carbohydrate, and these guys are going to have 37.5 grams of carbohydrate. Those are the types of studies that are done. What does that tell us? Not very much, because those two are not trained athletes, and they're not trying to get the most out of their body. So the readings are always out. To try to have that kind of study over time with trained athletes, elite athletes ideally, or good amateur or good recreational athletes, is near impossible. So you don't get to know it. So what we do get to see is what Eliud Kipchoge and what athletes are doing in the lab. And not just in the lab, but taking those lab results and those lab indicators and taking those out onto the field and putting them into practice in a race. Eliud Kipchoge has 100 grams of carbohydrate per hour. I'm on 80 grams. How did I get there? I started where I was, 37.5 grams, upped it to 45 grams, 50 grams, 60 grams, 70 grams, and then I did 80 grams. And guess what? The stomach just gets trained over the course of the training program in your interval sessions, teaching the body how to take this in. And by the way, before we go any further, if you kind of tuned out because you've not got access to those drinks bottles, the gels, whatever your gel you've got, they're usually good, but these have got 25 grams of carbohydrate in. So if you're taking one gel every 20 minutes, that's 75 grams of carbohydrate, those little gels. And again, the sodium, potassium, magnesium, all the good stuff that you need in order to get to the finish line optimally. What was I going to say? So once I'd figured out that actually my stomach, it's not going crazy. It's just getting used to taking in that level of carbohydrates. It was used to 40 grams or 37.5 grams. Now it's used to 80 grams. What were the differences? I was using that and training with that in my long runs and in my interval sessions. So when the body's going fast in my interval sessions, my speed sessions, I'm teaching the body to take in this sports drink or the gels, get used to processing them, getting the energy to the muscles. Gradually 50 grams, 60 grams, 70 grams, then 80 grams. What did I feel afterwards? So once I'd implemented that, for me it was a strike through moment. It was one of those kind of light bulb moments where you think, right, there'll never be any turning back, because happens like this. There's no muscle breakdown, or there's not the extent of the muscle breakdown that you get if you're having much less carbohydrate. So what you're doing is on the go, you're replenishing your glycogen supplies, both in your muscles and your liver. And so once you get to that point where it usually starts to suffer in the marathon or an ultramarathon, 30K mark, the 20-mile mark, the 35K mark, whatever that is for you, because you're pounding on the pavement, kilometer after kilometer, mile after mile, same muscles are being used. It's usually a flat marathon. Of course, the quads are going to the quads that are acting as a brake and the push-off muscle, very, very weird, not used anywhere else. Can't get used to that in the gym. The only way to get used to it is running downhill. But the quads are going to start aching. They're going to start being sore. And then every single step is a problem because we've not fed them enough fuel. We've not given them enough nutrients. We've not given them enough carbohydrate. So what I then had was, instead of 37.5 grams of carbohydrate, I've gone to 80 grams. I can push in the final third. I can push in the final quarter. I've had negative splits. And you can look at my London Marathon. You can find me on Power of 10, or you can find me on Strava. You can look at the negative splits that I've had, not just in marathons, but in ultramarathons, because as I'll always say, you want to feel like the first half, you're totally in control, you're running your pace, but because you've trained to run that pace for a marathon, first half should feel really easy, yeah? And the only way that the second half feels easy is if you've trained your body to take in enough carbohydrate and use it properly so that you can push in the second half. You can push in the final third, and you can push in the final quarter. And the minutes that you will make up in that second half far outweigh going out fast and then struggling. Think of how many minutes and how many seconds you've lost because all of a sudden at 20 miles, the legs have fallen off, or the legs are so dull, aching so much that you're just losing every kilometer, every mile, you're losing seconds or minutes. Think of how much that would change and how much your perception of how much joy, how much enjoyment you're getting from the marathon would change if you were pushing in that final third as opposed to just surviving. Good luck. And if you've got any questions on that, if I've not explained something well enough, let me know in the comments below. And as always, like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. One day I'm going to get that right.